Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, welcome everybody at Kanban New Zealand. As most months, we're meeting again, and we've got Thomas here today from Singapore, who's gonna tell us a little story around a big telco over there and how they introduced upstream Kanban, Kanban at scale. Thomas, I know Thomas well. He's a KMP and he's active in the Kanban community. That's how I know him. And maybe, Thomas, if you like to introduce yourself a little bit more, you're welcome to do so. And I hand over to you.
Okay, so I'll introduce myself during the slides. I have one slide on that. So I'll go straight into the topic. It's titled Accelerating Change, Digital Telco Case Study, because we were doing a transformation. It was a journey and how we progressed through the journey and how Kanban came to help with some of the teams. So I've taken one team as a showcase here. So I'll be going through giving a brief background about the project itself. It's called the Beam, and what is the program structure we followed. And then I'll dive into the Kanban case of one particular team, it's the customer service department, and then how the Kanban scaling elements helped us overall for the program also, and some key takeaways that I want to share. So as you see here, like Silke mentioned, I am a KMP. I also have other certifications, which from time to time we practice at work where needed. So I am currently working as an Agile coach at M1 Limited in Singapore, one of the leading telecom companies. So I got connected to Kanban Singapore a couple of years back. That's how I became active, through the community, because Kanban Singapore, founded by Debbie, is a very, very dynamic community here. And I got introduced to Dan through one of his visit to Kanban Singapore to give a talk. And I also presented the same in Kanban Singapore last year. And following through that, I also went to Kanban India, where I presented in front of Patrick to a small crowd of Kanban enthusiasts. Same topic, and I had an opportunity to learn a few things from Patrick directly through his sessions in the conference. So both Dan and Patrick have given me a lot of knowledge in terms of Kanban as well as upstream. And I have my colleague Janina, who is also an enthusiast in Kanban, working in Singapore with me. So thanks, Janina, because she helped me put up this presentation, wonderful presentation. And I have a short video there, which can take you through our journey within 3 minutes. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I have my ID here, my personal email. So let me straight away get into the project background. So it's a short video. Hope that video was clear. Was there any issue with anyone watching? Because Janina told me there was some areas which was pixelated here and there.
It was just seconds where I think it dropped a little bit, but otherwise it was
Okay.
totally fine to get the whole content, I guess.
Okay, that's great. So as you saw, there are various phases over a few years, starting 2019, and 2020 was the beginning with some pilot teams, and then 21 and 22 was the peak of the transformation, and then we ramped down in 23, and then 24 was kind of a slow year where multiple other teams, were involved in the transformation. So as I go through, there are some driving factors which compelled M1 to go through this transformation journey, which, like any other corporation, there are market competitive and dynamic market conditions and speed of technical innovation to which you need to keep up. Otherwise, your competition is going to eat you away. And also, Singapore government's, regulatory obligations that we need to keep up. Like we have a IMDA, which governs any communication and protects the privacy of people. So anybody who's picking up a phone, their identity should be protected all the time. So those kind of regulations are also part of this requirement. So M1 set out on a goal to transform from being a traditional telco, to become and be a digital telco. So that's the whole idea of this transformation. That was the goal. So traditionally, the development happened as usual, and then we tried to make them into product teams. So each product governed by a particular product team, and then they had cross-product collaboration wherever there is a dependency. So this product-led model helped, along with the different stages of transformation, for M1 to become a digital telco. We proudly say that we are the first digital telco in Singapore. So it took us four plus years to completely transform into a digital stack. So what was the challenge? It was not easy, as everyone knows. For our teams, it was all new because they are, Singapore, M1 being a 20 plus years old company when we started off this transformation journey. It was a traditional and much more conservative kind of, employees, all the departments, they don't talk to each other. So that kind of a thing. From there, they had to become cross-functional teams where their ways of working is totally different. And the technology they are going into is also new. You have to build that synergy between these departments, no matter whether you like it or not. This is the new ways of working for the entire organization.
Thomas,
and we had, yeah.
Patrick is asking how many product teams?
Okay, I'll come to that in a couple of slides, right? So this was the challenge. So, and the principles that as coaches we adapted, is mainly we wanted to understand what is existing at present and why it is existing, so that we can appreciate why they are doing certain things in a certain way, which resonates with our Kanban principles. Right? Start with what you do now. And also, we wanted to be open to any resistance from the teams, because we know that these people are 20 plus years of experience in telco company in Singapore, and we are new to the company, and we will definitely face a lot of challenges in terms of resistance to any kind of change. So we took up the evolutionary approach and that Kanban promotes. And we wanted to take up this principle also acts of leadership at every level. So enabling everyone, to become a leader. And we wanted to be transparent with the leadership, what is happening on the ground, whatever the leadership needed to know, and whatever the teams at the ground needed to know from the leadership, so that the expectations are kept at par. And we always not go by the book. Whatever works for the team, we wanted to make sure they take it with full acceptance. So we evolved our own policies so that improvement can come in the form of outcome. And whenever there is some problem, we don't escalate. We just ask around, because there are so many experienced people. It's not just the leadership that needs to give us go ahead to do certain things, but at the lower level also there are many people who are experienced. We didn't want to hurt their egos, so the transformation goal can be achieved without much of a problem. So these are some avenues that we did to take care of the people who were involved in transformation. Like we conducted master classes to educate everyone on to be on the same page, the new ways of working, what we are going into, and how we will be operating throughout this transformation journey. And lunchtime talks, agile clinics for one-on-one, check-ins where they had some issues to clarify, and e-learning for everyone. And there's a library, a website with a library of resources for the new ways of working, and also focused coaching to teams. Right. So I'm coming to the question earlier. So we have this program structure that we followed. Now, if you see, initially we had Beam 1, where 6 mission-based teams practice some of the agile, practices. They were chosen as the pilot. So whatever transformation goal was there, we taught the ways of working to these teams. From traditional ways of working, they started adapting to agile ways of working initially, depending on what team needs which framework. So that choice was left to them, of course, with the guidance of the coaches. So in total, if you see, there are 16 teams as product teams. So the initial 6 teams and Beam 2 had 10 product teams. So we had more than 70 product initiatives. Currently, whatever was ongoing at that point of time, we had to do a migration from the legacy system to the digital stack, which is a new system. And Beam 3 focused on continuous learning and improvement. So whichever teams involved in the transformation, they had to continue, and we have to onboard other functions in the company also. It's not just the product teams and the software development teams. It should be other support functions also. So that's what we are focusing as part of Beam 3, which is currently ongoing. Right. So if you look at the overall, did that answer the earlier question? Yeah. So overall was the work was managed using the scaled agile framework. So we had multiple release trains running. So to be precise, there were 3 release trains parallelly running. And for the program level, we had a program level Kanban to manage the work at scale. But individual teams chose whatever worked for them, maybe Scrum or Kanban or Scrumban, depending on what is suitable to the team. So it didn't start from day one. as an approach, everybody started with Scrum, but after some time, because the coaches were also new to the company, we didn't understand how they operated. So that's why everybody started with Scrum, and then slowly we transform. I mean, we redirected ourselves into Kanban or Scrumban based on how we can achieve the goal for the team. So the blueprint that we followed is like doing right things at the program level and at the team level, doing things the right way. So first is the product vision and product roadmap planning. All this is done at the program level. And sprint planning, because this is a scaled agile implementation as a big transformation. So we wanted to align all the teams into one cadence. So that's the sprint planning for entire program. And daily planning and delivery at the lower level. Robert has a question, I guess.
Yeah. In Beam 1, how did you choose which initiatives to work on? What were the criteria you used for selecting those initiatives?
Okay, so maybe I can throw a little bit of light on the transformation goals itself, right? Our legacy was serving customers who were using some of the consumer products, because our transformation happened in two phases. One is the consumer products, the other is the enterprise products, right? So the first focus is on the consumer products, because that was the bigger base that we wanted to migrate from the legacy to the digital stack. So when this came into the strategic approval, so there were few products which were much more fast in the market. I mean, every now and then there will be some new product launch that will happen. Say, for example, there is a Apple phone being released or Samsung phone being released. And there are multiple customers who make use of the mobile apps and also website. So based on these criteria, these requirements, we wanted to choose those specific teams. Like we wanted to have the customer channels ready. So the web and the mobile app team, and also the consumer product team, right? So these three were the main teams chosen. So the consumer product team itself had some breakdown of different product lines. So they were also considered as individual teams to transform. So that's how it started as a pilot team for the Beam 1.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you, if you were to do Beam 1 again today, would you choose the same initiatives, or would you try to do something differently?
Yes, I think we would do the same, because that worked for us. Because the phase 1 goal was to transform or migrate the entire customer base, consumer base, leaving the enterprise alone, because enterprise is mainly serving the government services. We didn't want to experiment with the government services because they are kind of mission critical when it comes to telecom services to the government. It has different services like that are used by the military and things like that. So that's not the place to experiment. So weighing different pros and cons. Again, yeah, if we were to do Beam 1, we will choose these teams to go ahead with. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let me go forward. So we set up a mission office, which govern overall the program. So as you see on the extreme left, the demands from business and functional teams go through the funnel. That's where our upstream happens. They choose all the high priority business requirements to be completed as early as possible. They go into the program after scrutiny, after business value evaluation of the business value that these initiatives can generate. So that's the demand management forum that governs what goes into the program for the next release, right? So the program level Kanban itself, had merged multiple sub teams into it, so to have a high level view. And the key activities we were doing was a list of items here, as I've given: big room planning and program level cadences, team level cadences, whatever required for them to roll up to the program level. So and also the release train engineers planning for the release, and MACE, which is M1's Agile Center of Excellence, which is our team. We had a cadence with the leadership also to share the agility maturity of individual teams, and release planning, the usual stuff: go, no go, release, and after release, what went well, what went wrong, and what can be improved. And also a showcase to the leadership, like, what are the products that have gone into the new stack, because it had a directly proportional outcome, because all these are consumer products. For a period of time, until all the initiatives have been migrated to the new stack, we had to run both the legacy and the new stack parallelly, because it was a big consumer base. So we had to migrate a group by group, right? So first we did the postpaid. Anybody who's having a postpaid plan with M1, so these consumers were migrated. In that also, those with families were migrated, and then SIM only plan was migrated at the end. That means you have covered a bigger range of problems initially, right, for the consumers. So once this is done, we have to showcase to the management, hey, these are the features that we have rolled out in this release, and this showcase is actually scheduled a month after the release. So the marketing team has some time to generate the real sales reports after this release, right? And they can show what is before and what is after, so they can find a trend in growth of sales in the new stack, right? So the new website is very easy to use for the consumers. New app also has, till date, it is the best app among the three telcos in Singapore, based on consumer rating in both Apple and other Play stores. Even in Huawei Play Store, it is ranking #1. So depending on this, whatever we showcase to the management, we have some data to prove that the transformation is working. If there is some problem, that is also highlighted, and then the corrective action is done in the upcoming release. That goes into the retrospective part of it. So now let's go into the case for this presentation itself, so that the previous section is about the transformation journey on a whole. So the context about this particular team is this is a customer service department hosting this development team with 2 developers who will actually make the build. and there's one tester. There is a product owner and a Scrum Master. So this is the construct of the team, right? So what this particular product itself is doing is, it is a automatic voice response system, a voice bot called Maxine, powered by Amazon Connect, right? It's so anything that a consumer wants to do with a customer service, they pick up the phone and call 1687, and then it doesn't go to the operator, but the voice bot takes over. The consumer can, give some keyword, say some keyword, and then it will direct to the particular workflow, and then give further questions, right, for the consumer to answer, so that it can serve. If the particular workflow doesn't have any answer for the consumer, then it will transfer it to the customer service officer. So that is the idea of this Maxine. So to focus on the challenge of the team itself, initially when we looked at this team, we can see that there is inadequate collaboration between the team and the stakeholders, because the product owner was not very clear on what are the upcoming initiatives or epics for the team to work on. It's very random, right? Sometimes very urgent request comes in, which can take up a lot of time because the requirements are not very clear, right? So it's not ready for development yet, but still stakeholders will say, oh, this is very urgent. So that is one thing. And the flow of work items now, because of this, is very, very unpredictable, resulting in an unhealthy backlog, right? If Dan was there, I would have opted this terminology instead of backlog, or call it options, because we had a few discussions where he quotes the dictionary, saying, hey, backlog is something that you didn't do what you should have already done, right? Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. So we also educated our product owners to build options that they can choose from to work on, right? So that's where we propose the solution of re-educating the team on agile practices and introduce certain elements of Kanban. So this team, as I mentioned, it's a Scrum team. So we didn't want to go full-blown introduction of Kanban. We didn't even take the word or the name of Kanban when we introduced the practices at the beginning. So it was like a stealth Kanban. I remember somebody spoke about stealth Kanban in Australia sometime back in the same meetup last year. So similar approach was taken here, because as you go and introduce too many frameworks, the resistance is much higher. So just to tackle on that, we took a stealth mode and supplement some of their existing Scrum practices with suitable elements of Kanban. It's not full-blown, as I mentioned. And we implemented upstream Kanban to visualize the discovery work, and then streamline the flow of dev-ready work items into the Scrum board of the team. So having said that, so after the retraining and a workshop to understand how the flow can work, this was not an easy thing, but we were very helpful, because the stakeholder, that the key person was also a pro agility, pro to if he welcomes change to his team, or any process that is hindering achieving the outcomes. So that was a bless for us. So Janina was the key person in implementing this upstream. So the stakeholders with the discovery team, they came up with all the options and then evaluated what can be focused on for detailed discovery and then solutioning, so that the Scrum team can have some visibility on what are the items coming into the list of options, which is nothing but the the dev ready column. When they see the Jira is the tool that the team used, M1 used for the whole transformation. So they will have their dev ready options assigned to this team. So whenever they are planning for the next replenishment, they can pull out those items which are on top. So depending on that. So though they were practicing Scrum with the Kanban elements that were injected, the team agreed they will work on one card per developer. So the 2 developers at the beginning. Later, after 1 year, the team got 1 more developer. So they pulled 1 card at a time, and then the WIP limit was an implied one. This also, I think, Dan would appreciate, because he also talks much about not forcing WIP limit on a Scrum team where their practice is totally different, and you're trying to impose something that is totally new to them. It's all right, but certain other practices can imply WIP limit to them. So they practice right to left, and then only thing that we were emphasizing is you stop starting new work, start finishing existing work. And what happens if out of the 2 developers, one has finished the work? So they don't pull the next work immediately. So as a team, they all agreed on, if a developer is free, the next thing that developer will do is to check with the tester whether she has all the test cases done up, any help required in setting up the test data, or any help required in running any of the tests of other work items which was completed by other developers. So all these things will be dealt with by the free developer. And if there is nothing required for tester, then the next thing will be anything to help with the upstream for solutioning, any help for the architect, or any build to be run, or any other spike, like you want to do some research work or what. So all this will be taken care. If nothing else is there, then they will go and pull the next piece of item. And as I mentioned, the transformation itself, had a 3-week, sprint as a commonly aligned, iteration across all the teams. So the team also had this, 3-week schedule. So within 3 weeks, they will look at working on the current items, and then after that, they will make sure these items are completed and pushed to the done column. There are certain items which may not be completed, and that is upfront announced to the product owner that these are items which will take longer than 3 weeks. So this kind of agreement is also there. And we also had established certain pull criteria for each of the columns, and pull rather than push. Right? That means if I pull completed as a developer, I won't tell or I won't compel the tester, hey, I've completed this, you are now supposed to test it. It's not the pushing mentality. It's the pull mentality that we again and again emphasize to the team, by saying stop starting, start finishing. Right? So that was the experimentation with this team. So how did we measure the flow? Again, this is the discovery Kanban cumulative flow diagram. So if you see DNS ready items, they come from the stakeholders, and then they've already prioritized based on business value. So now the discovery team is going into analyzing the requirements, and then the architects are pulled in to talk about what is the solution that they can give. If there is any dependency, then it will be brought up to the program level to see how other teams can help in achieving this goal. What could be the realistic timeline for these items, and so on. Right? So once all that is done, these are put into the dev ready column. Right? So that's how it is done here. So when we spent a couple of years in this practice, so specifically when we went to analyze how the team has been progressing, any small win also was highlighted then and there. But this is a cumulative information. So the delivery rate had improved from 51%, because when the customer experience, the head of customer experience came to the Agile team saying this team needs some help because we have a team, but even after 1 month of giving a requirement, they're not able to deliver much value. So that was the very statement the head of customer experience gave us as a challenge, right? So after these practices, their delivery rate improved to be proved as 110%. So they've gone into this motion and they've practiced Scrum along with Kanban, which has helped a lot in this, right? So the implicit WIP kind of helped in collaboration between the team, and also the upstream helped in collaborating with the stakeholders also. Right? There was a fixed cadence. So if the stakeholders don't give the requirements, for an ideal situation, if they don't give in a particular cycle, their work will be, held up for the next cycle, so next replenishment. So that is the idea and the agreement that was established. So we will just dig into this chart, this lead time histogram. So this data set I took is between August 2022 and October 2024. So on the x-axis, you can see the lead time value in calendar days from start to complete. That is the system lead time I'm talking about. And the y-axis is the number of work items within each interval. So examining the data itself, we found that more than 50%, to be precise, 52% of the work, they were completed within 10 days. That means within the first 2 weeks of the sprint, right? So the tester had enough time to, verify these stories or work items, and then give any feedback to the developers. Right? So the next step, we notice, the remaining 48%, approximately 72% of this pool, took 2.5 to 3 times. That is 20 to 30 days when compared to the first sample, which is the 10-day sample. And then comes the remaining 8%, where we can infer that 1 in 8 customers will wait for around 50 days. That means out of the items that the customer experience team gives as a requirement, 8% of the work will be very long for the team to complete. It will take longer time for the team to complete. So that is the inference, that is the information we can gather from this. And we do have some outliers. We cannot neglect them, because these are also important initiatives, but these are complex ones, which the stakeholders also understand that this will require more time and effort. So these are also appreciated, right? Because we are able to upfront tell the stakeholders that this is going to take such a long period of time for the team to complete. So if we look at the average lead time, it was around 13 days, which is still within the 3-week sprint. When I say 13 days, there will be some stress on the tester. Yeah, but with the collaborative effort of the team, they were able to manage releasing of these items at the end of each sprint. So an accurate commitment for this particular team, what we established with the stakeholders was over half of the requests are completed in 10 days, or even before that, which is 52%. With an average lead time of 13 days, 98% of rest of the items can be completed within 15 days. 50 days, sorry. So that was the commitment established. And with this premise, the team had operated, is still operating, in a successful way, where expectation is very well managed, and the team is now very well matured. That Janina has already pulled herself off the team. They are kind of without a coach, but they do have the Scrum Master and Product Owner in place, but they are delivering sprint after sprint, which is for us a real success story. So
there were two questions in the chat. Not sure if you've seen them.
Okay.
Varun is asking, what were the sprint cycles in the discovery and dev, and what test automation tool was used?
Okay, so at the program level itself, for the discovery and before any development activity begins, we need to have the initiatives in the dev ready, right? So that is the objective. So the discovery cycle is also a 3-week cycle. So at least for the upcoming sprint, if you have any items to be given to the dev team or the Scrum team, stakeholders should be ready with their requirements to be given to the discovery team, and we need to find who is the architect suitable for this particular piece of work and pull them in for doing the discovery. And yeah, so this is also a 3-week sprint. So it's the same cycle. So depending on the size of the work, where they were doing t-shirt sizing for the stakeholder side or the business side, they were doing t-shirt sizing. So depending on the t-shirt size, the discovery team will preempt the number of sprints they would require, or number of weeks they would require to complete the discovery and solutioning, and then accordingly they will place it on the roadmap. So did that answer your question, Varun?
It did, Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah, and about the test automation tool, I think you have a question about that also. Unfortunately, we didn't have any test automation, though we were pressing too much on this part of the transformation. The development teams were too engaged in the core activities of the transformation, and only one team managed to have around 90% test automation, was the M1's mobile app, right? So they have automated testing, but this particular team, Janina, correct me if I'm wrong, until the transformation completed, they didn't have any test automation. But after every sprint before the release, the team would come and demonstrate this voice bot using the test phones, because the team is a distributed team. The part of the team is in Kuala Lumpur, and the rest is in Singapore. So the two developers I mentioned, they are located in Kuala Lumpur. So from there, they will dial up the customer service for the new feature added into the voice bot, and then they will try out the voice bot during the sprint review, right? So that's how they used to do the test here. There is no automation tool used for this particular team.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right. So, like I mentioned, at the program level, we used Scale Agile framework, and this is part of the Kanban board here. The mission office had a mission control board. As you see, I've highlighted only up to the dev ready columns. The remaining part is the development team's board, but we had it in the same board. It is a pretty wide stretched board. I just took part of this. So the scaling goes into 3 dimensions. The height wise, the different hierarchy of items, different levels of flow, which when I see, you can see there are different epics listed here, right? So these are epics at the program level. And if you see this is also an epic, and this is at the team level, right? So each team has their own epic. Further, these teams may have their own multiple channels. Say, for example, a marketing department is releasing a postpaid plan, for example. So this plan comes into program level, right? So it is created as a epic at the program level, right? So inside, it could have multiple epics, and each epic could belong to a sub-level, or which is the third dimension, which is the depth. If I see what is in the depth, is the channel team, like web, app, the shop itself, shop where the consumer can walk in and buy the plan, and also the other departments like finance department, which takes care of billing and things like that, right? So here, this epic could have other child epics or child stories, depending on what is the level of the work item itself, right? So they could be split into multiple user stories, where these user stories could belong to different component teams. Like one could be to the reporting team, the other could be to the billing team, right? So like that, multiple items would be created, right? So these are the different aspects of the scaling dimensions. So on the width itself, this part of the board that you're seeing is the upstream for the development teams. And as you go to the right, you will see the downstream teams, where all these channel teams will have their own, part of the Scrum board or Kanban board, to work on their individual items, right? So which will, as a program, it will be rolled up into high-level epics. So the program or the mission control officer or the mission head can drill down from here to see how the things are progressing. Okay, so that's about the scaling dimensions. So as I mentioned, these are the product level epics, and this is the team level epic. So this is a cumulative diagram I took some time back last year. No, yeah, 2024. So as you can see, there is a steady flow of items across the board, both upstream and downstream, where they have the inventory options for the downstream team, to pick up, where the upstream would, try to put all the items in the dev ready state. I'm not sure if I can zoom this further. Yeah. So these colors. So this purple is the dev ready state. So from there, they have to approve the epic. Though it is in dev ready, are we ready to really roll it out to the production? Right. So that decision is taken here, and then they will approve certain epics, which the team can focus on, or the multiple teams can focus on, implementing and then getting to release. So there were also different phases, like after development there is SIT, UAT, and then business verification test, which is in short is called BVT. And once they are done, it is released, right? And we also practiced invalid or obsolete items over a period of time. Probably that particular product is already out of the market, so no point in focusing on this item, right? So it's no more required for the consumer. So those kind of things. So that is also part of the practice here. So I think most of the discussion from my side has come to an end. Now I will just throw some light on how Kanban practices helped the program itself, and also the customer service team. So what I can say is, it has really enhanced the collaboration between the Scrum team and the stakeholders. So they were able to agree upon certain aspects, and then stop starting and start finishing, pulling rather than pushing. So these kind of things I'm talking about. And as the stakeholders are focused on what is going to deliver value, so the customer centricity also improved a lot, because they were able to channel their focus and effort on focusing on only those items that are really going to make a difference in the consumer experience. So those were brought into the dev ready board. And continuous improvement, like I mentioned earlier, the program itself adopted to a program level retrospective. The team also, every team had their own retrospectives after the sprint or the iteration. And speaking of all this, it's not 1 month, 2 months. It's over a period of 4 years. It's all an evolutionary approach rather than making a revolution all at one go. So it mainly helped us in achieving a sustainable change, rather than you say, hey, you have to do this, and after some time people forget about it. So that evolutionary approach really helped in reducing the resistance, cushioning the damages that could come because of the friction during any change. So these are, I think, the impact of a Kanban approach, putting a Kanban lens to any team that is practicing any kind of framework. So this is what we can take away, I guess, as a conclusion. Yep. And thank you.
Thank you so much. That was super interesting. I like that you actually got some of those Kanban dimensions also in the context of your organization, and that you showed that Kanban not only on team level, which lots of people still think, but it's beyond that. And then it's not Scrum or Kanban, Kanban can improve any way you're working at the moment. Really cool. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah. We've been working also with a telco company, large telco company here in Europe. And so one of the obstacles that, or at least challenges that we encountered, is the complexity of the system landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to have a very complex internally system landscape. And the thing is that almost every initiative touches at least a handful of systems. Any meaningful initiative, at least a handful, if not a dozen of systems. And so that means that you have to cope with lots of dependencies. It makes it very hard to organize around products, because also the products are very interdependent. And it also makes it very hard for teams, especially if you think about teams as stable teams, not to be order-taking teams. Did you have some similar experiences, or did you cope in a way with that, or?
Yeah, so we did face similar experiences, because as I mentioned, this transformation is also about changing the legacy system to a digital stack, where one thing I didn't mention is about the consolidation of multiple products. Over 250 different products were used in the legacy system. For everything there will be a product, right? I mean, off-the-shelf product they would have purchased sometime in the lifetime of M1, right, from beginning. So all these systems were consolidated, and currently what they have is Azure, and probably they will move into AWS environment in a couple of years. But on Azure also, the total number of products now governing are 12, to be precise, right? So these 12 products, from 250 over products to come down to 12 products, there are so many things that the company had to do. Retrain teams on these products, for example, sending them for certification. And one advantage that we had was, we had one master contract with one of the SI who had deployed over 200 people to take care of the backend. Only thing that we had challenge was in the billing system, where it is a different product. We could not change over in a very short time. So it took almost 4 years, the full span of the transformation journey. We did change into a new billing system. So that was the only thing where we had a lot of friction. Otherwise, since our SI was a single company with a master contract, the transformation headache was kind of offloaded to this SI, and all their teams had to comply to certain level of association within the program. So that gave us leeway as well. But having said that, it was also not smooth. So every discovery, when you go in, there will be new things you discover which you would have never have thought about, and to resolve this, it will take a lot of time. So yeah, we did face similar issues, but on our management side also, we had our mission head was a very strong person, is like changing mindset of people is one aspect of it, where the agile coaches were doing certain, taking certain initiatives. But on the command level, this mission head was very, very powerful in getting things around. So that is another plus point that this transformation had. So it's not just one strategy. Few things were in place. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you. Any more questions? Doesn't look like it.
Actually, I was just going to ask, were the Scrum teams working with sprint goals as well as with Kanban, and how did you interleave that?
A guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the sprint goals were actually, initially when they didn't have this practice, they will set up the sprint goal, but it wouldn't be a realistic one, right? It may not be of value to the customer, or maybe there were certain situations where they couldn't deliver. Like that was the problem given to us when the consumer experience head spoke to us, right? So with the practices in place, with upstream Kanban in place, the team was able to draw their goal clearly from the list of options that they had, the top priority items, and that was a smooth sail after that. So Janina, you want to add anything onto how exactly they came up with the sprint goal?
Yeah, sure. So actually, for the sprint goal, it's as mentioned, it's an overall goal. But in terms of mixing it with the Kanban flavor, how they do it in the upstream, so it helps them keep a heads up what could be their expected and what could be an out of scope in their sprint goal. So that really helps in Kanban. And then inside the delivery, the development Scrum board, the one thing that they also mentioned is having that understanding of one ticket at a time. So that Kanban mindset definitely helped the developers to keep a much more realistic expectations on what could be an in scope of a sprint goal. So that's why having that Kanban mindset along with their sprint goal actually improved what can be expected and what can be out of scope. So that definitely helped their estimation, or sorry, rather forecasting experiences moving forward. So it really gels quite well.
Thanks, Janina.
Thank you.
Hope that answered your question, Guy.
Yeah, I was curious. I'm just working with two teams who've been working in isolation, but one is developing a Databricks data lakehouse, the business intelligence system to display from that the Power BI system. They've been working independently and having some integration problems, even though they've both been using Kanban. And what we're actually looking at doing is bringing in a unified sprint goal for both teams. And the idea would be that the sprint goal provides the primary focus, right? And so while they can pull other work, we're using the sprint goal as a priority setter across both teams, and the teams will present together to try and bring that kind of unified view of making sure that the information that's presented up through the presentation layer in the data lakehouse gels with the prototyping work they've done in Power BI and bring the two together. We're expecting some challenges because we're going from a data warehouse that's based on SQL to Databricks based on Python, and we expect there to be different handling, rounding errors, et cetera, so some variations of the data. And I was just kind of curious around, I'm sort of going the other way, but I'm trying to use sprint goals to create focus, which is curious whether you encountered something similar. That was all.
Janina.
Yeah, I think Janina can share something because something currently happening similar to this. Yeah.
Actually, we're currently working on that team. But what I would like to share is the team that I previously worked with. One of the things that definitely helped keeping a really great flow in their upstream Kanban board is they also do the solutioning in that part. So from solutioning up until development to production release, the developers are all on board on that. So even though it's an upstream work, they are completely involved in that. So what they did was they did proper capacity planning. So what they set as a sprint goal also involves their capacity for doing solutioning in their upstream Kanban effort as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that really definitely helps keep off like the handoff waste, right? So that definitely helped the team to lessen that part, and it definitely helped them keep a much more fluent flow for that. So I guess that's one of the things that definitely helped the team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janina.
Sure.
Cool. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, Patrick is
Patrick.
saying something.
So I'm going to cycle back a little bit to my previous question because, so if you take because you're talking about sprint goals, so if you take the average initiative, any meaningful initiative in your organization, how many teams would be involved?
Depending on the dependency, right? So definitely for the Amazon Connect team, it's just them, right?
Just
because
them.
it's just the bot. Yeah. So in this particular team, keeping this particular team in mind, if I say, they have something called as prioritizing customer on a queue, right? So depending on the customer's bill size, they categorize the customers as whale, shark, just a normal fish, right? So you pay less bill, that means you're in the lower category. You pay a little bit more, you are in the shark category. You pay a hefty bill, then you are in the whale category. So if these three customers call at the same time, the system will automatically pick up the whale category customer because he's so for this type alone. Yeah, so for this kind of categorization, they can't do it themselves. So they have to go and get an integration from a third team, which will tackle the billing part, right? So it has to integrate on the program level in that case. Yeah.
Now,
this is one scenario.
Say that there's an initiative to completely redesign the service offering, which a telco does on a regular basis, like every couple of years.
Yeah.
So you have an initiative like that. How many teams?
Yeah, we do have initiatives that cut across multiple channels, from marketing to the website, the mobile app, and the finance for reporting, and also handling fraud and all that, billing. So all these teams will be touched. So we do have such initiatives. Time to time, yes. Whenever there is a new launch, every other channel will be impacted.
Yeah.
Because for every launch, the pricing structure will be different, right? The product comes with some discount for a specific category of consumer, and then between the three telcos within Singapore, there will be porting in and porting out of numbers. I want to keep my original number, and then still I want to be able to hop between the telcos. So that is a service allowed by the regulatory authorities. So taking care of all this, multiple teams are involved. So definitely it cuts across many teams very often. Yeah.
So, and isn't that the real challenge? Not to be disrespectful, but creating change in like the one thing that you're talking about with the customer call, which is very localized, which is a very isolated team. Creating change in that type of team is quite well, it's maybe not the biggest challenge that the organization is facing. So it's those initiatives that cross-cut the organization, which are actually the meaningful initiatives, those that touch the bottom line. Isn't that the real challenge?
Exactly. So that is what we did at the program level. Like I mentioned, there would be daily cadences between those teams that are involved, or even before that is decided, which are the teams involved. Before even that decision is made, everybody will be called, and this initiative will be thrown on the table, and then they discuss about the requirement, whichever team that is bringing in the initiative, that will explain what is the requirement, right? So this is after they get the go-ahead from the CFO and CEO on the budget part. So they come to the the discovery forum, where they discuss about the requirement, and then they see where are the cutting or the slicing needs to be done. So which of the teams should be involved in the implementation of this initiative. So the discovery itself, goes through a cycle of 3 weeks to 9 weeks, depending on the size of the initiative itself. After which the development teams will get dev-ready epics. Yeah, so that's how
and that's how you end up with order-taking teams, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which have a hard time defining goals on a shorter period.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have ongoing work that they focus on during the transformation period. This was very fast-paced, but now it has slowed down. The change, though it is periodic, the teams know that they can handle it within the given time. Yeah, as they've matured through the practice now. Yeah.
Thank you. Cool. I think, Patrick, if that has answered your question.
Yes.
We can wrap up, I guess. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being here. As usual, the recording will be on the Kanban New Zealand YouTube channel. I guess many people I have actually signed up and they will watch the recording as usual. So feel free to share it also in your Singapore and Malaysia network once it's up there. I'll try to in the course of the day, as it's morning here. I'm in Berlin at the moment. And yeah, so thanks so much also to Janina to help clarify some things and be here. Cool. I'll stop the recording now.